Welcome to Stay on Track podcast with Poolson Oden Law Firm. Danny Poolson, along with my amazing co-host Carissa Oden. Our vision is to help 500 plus families battling injuries by year 2028.
Our motto is that we help people who are hurt. Our goal is to earn each client's trust by showing up for them every day. When we say PO in our office, we think protecting others. We started this podcast to share knowledge, experience, and insights free of charge to better spread our vision and serve our communities near and far.
Today we are airing episode 11 of Stay on Track podcast with Poolson Oden Law Firm. And in this episode, which I'm very excited about, we discuss a little known secret in automobile accident adjusting, one that many attorneys are not even aware of, diminished value claims, with a very special guest, IACP certified auto appraiser and Louisiana license adjuster Keith Smith. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for being here. Before we get into your background, what exactly is diminished value and why is it important for vehicle owners to understand this concept?
Diminished value is the decrease in value that a vehicle experiences as a result of an accident. And most people are not aware that they can retrieve this amount of money prior to selling their vehicle. Most people don't find out about diminished value until they go to sell the vehicle or trade it in and find out that it has decreased in value. And diminished value allows you to file a claim against an at-fault party's insurance carrier after the accident occurs so that the person can recover at that time.
Will you tell us a little bit about how you got involved?
My background and training, I started as I received my bachelor's degree in insurance and real estate at Morehouse College in 1988. And I started as a real estate appraiser. And in 1992, when the industry slowed down, I moved into insurance and became an auto appraiser or auto adjuster at U.S. agencies when they first started. And in fact, when I joined U.S. agencies, it was 1996, and there were only 3 of us in the claims department. And under the direction of Paul Rester and Mr. Greg Tramontine, I helped them develop their claims department and became a litigation specialist where I directed defense attorneys. And so I have a lot of experience in dealing with attorneys and telling them what to do.
Nice.
We have a phrase in the office, tell the truth Tuesday. So tell the truth, Mr. Smith, when you started out adjusting, were you denying claims?
Well, you try to determine liability and be fair and do what's right. Unfortunately, insurance companies, they have their directives and you have to try to follow those also. And sometimes they're not quite what you would hope, but you just try to do the right thing as an adjuster, at least good adjusters do.
Very polished, well articulated answer. Way to land that one, right?
You didn't throw him off at all. Yeah.
It was only the third question going in. Right? Well done.
We call it the hot seat. So,
okay. The hot seat. No, for sure. No, so tell us more about, so it sounds like you started more helping the insurance companies, and now it sounds like in your practice, you're more helping the individual vehicle owners. So tell us about that transition and how that came to be.
Well, I noticed as an adjuster that very few people were pursuing diminished value. Very few knew about it. The way the insurance companies were evaluating it wasn't fair or correct. And most of the people who were trying to present claims didn't know how to and didn't present information that was persuasive enough. And so I saw a gap in the industry, and adjusting is extremely stressful, and I wanted to get out. And so I decided to start a company that would help people and allow me the freedom of self-employment and being happy.
It's an important thing.
Exactly.
So when you noticed that need, was there a person in the insurance industry that should have been communicating that kind of information to the insured, like their agent or?
That is an interesting question I've never really considered. There's no requirement that an adjuster tell someone that they're entitled to this. It's the individual's, upon the individual to recognize that they need to pursue a claim, and that's part of the problem with the industry. And in fact, I'm encountering a lot of problems where agents don't know much about this at all. And one of the largest insurance companies, I won't say their name, but their agents are telling their customers that Louisiana is not a diminished value state, which is blatantly wrong because there is an actual statute that covers diminished value in the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about educating to protect here, and it just seems like when these policyholders are buying insurance, they don't necessarily have the education or know what product they're buying or what coverage they have. Have you seen that?
Well, diminished value isn't an issue of coverage so much because in all states except Georgia, it's a third-party claim, not a first-party claim. So there's no coverage that provides for diminished value. It's someone else has to be at fault and cause the accident, and then you have to file against the at-fault party. It's different in the state of Georgia. Georgia allows for first-party claims, but all other states, someone has to be at fault and cause the accident, and then you have to file against them, which complicates things because you're filing against a third-party carrier, and they're not as interested in pleasing their customer or client, and you're going to have an uphill battle, pretty much.
That's really good to know. Tell us about that as far as the claim itself. If we have a client who's in an auto accident, we've got a bodily injury claim and then a property damage claim. As far as the diminished value goes, is that separate? And would that claim be included in the original petition that we would file with the court, or the correspondence to the insurance company saying, hey, we've got diminished value here as well on top of these other claims?
Diminished value is separate from bodily injury. It comes out of the property damage reserves of the claim, not the bodily injury reserves. So it would be coming out of the pot of money that goes towards property damage. So you need to look at the limits, and if there's an aspect of the law that specifically says that you should consider diminished value when determining if a vehicle is a total loss. So that's something you need to look at also. When a vehicle is a total loss, if it's on the borderline, you want to look at, is there a possibility if the diminished value might push it over that 75% threshold that is required for a total loss?
Yeah. We've heard terms diminution and depreciation. Can you tell us the difference between those terms as it relates to diminished value claims?
Yes, this is important. Most people don't realize that there's a difference, and they use depreciation synonymously with diminution. Depreciation occurs over time gradually and is calculable. It is usually determined in charts. You have J.D. Power, and they'll show you how much the vehicle depreciated over time, and that occurs before the accident. Diminution or diminished value is a sudden occurrence and is usually due to an event like an accident that causes the vehicle to decrease in value. It's not it's not gradual over time. It's sudden due to an incident or event that causes the vehicle to decrease in value.
So when we're talking about diminished value, can you explain different types of diminished value and how they're determined?
Sure. You have two main types of diminished value. You have inherent diminished value, which is the vehicle decreasing because of the accident and the perception of it decreasing. And this is due to normally the vehicle history. If it says minor, moderate, severe, that is going to affect the owner or buyer's perception of the value of the vehicle. And so it is an automatic inherent decrease in value that is perceived, while the other type is repair-related diminished value, which there are two different types. You have body shop repair related, which could be due to defective repair work. And then you have insurance related repair diminished value, which is due to them using inadequate parts or forcing their procedures on the repair process, which may cause the value to decrease in value. The problem is that repair related diminished value, you're normally going to need an inspection, which costs a lot of the vehicle. And it's more an issue of, is it the body shop's fault? And if it is, you're going to have to pursue against the body shop in addition to the insurance company. And so repair related gets very complicated.
You think the insurance companies know all this?
I was an adjuster for over 20 years, and I trained a lot of adjusters, and very few adjusters know any of the details of diminished value, its history, or any of the how to determine diminished value, what makes a proper report, and what's correct methodology. Very few of them know much about this. I'm actually working on a CE course on diminished value because most agents know nothing about this. And it's something that they should be the first line of defense, and they should educate their customers properly. Unfortunately, since it's a third party issue, and not a first party claims are collision and comp, and third parties, when someone else is at fault, involves liability. And so because it's usually a third party issue where you're filing against another carrier, most insurance companies don't let their insured know that they have a possibility to file this.
Mr. Smith, so many questions. So, no, this is excellent. So, and for all of our viewers, this is me aspiring to be a nerd. Hopefully it's showing right now. So when we talk about first party claim, that's going to be the policyholder against his or her own insurance company. Third party claim, if another vehicle causes the accident, that's a third party claim. My question for you is there a potential for diminished value similar to a UM or a UIM claim, uninsured, underinsured, where let's say you're in an accident and the accident is your fault? Can you pursue diminished value claim for your fault in being the accident or no?
It's a good question.
Thanks. It was a lot of words.
I don't think so.
So this diminished value claim would apply only in someone else being at fault and causing the accident situations.
Correct. Now, you can file UM if another person was at fault and they don't have enough coverage, or as a phantom vehicle, and you can prove that it was a phantom vehicle, or someone hit and run, you can file it on your UM. Also, you can recover diminished value when you file your taxes as a casualty loss. If you can't get, a third party, can't pursue a third-party claim against an at-fault party or carrier, then your last line of defense is that you can file it on your taxes. Now, I'm not an accountant, and I cannot go into a whole lot of detail about that, but you can do that.
I got you. When in doubt, talk to your agent. When in more doubt, talk to your CPA. When in more doubt, talk to Mr. Smith.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit, I think maybe, I don't know if you said Kelly Blue Book or whatnot, but like vehicle histories, like if your car's in an accident, like Carfax or Auto Check, how do those play into? You kind of touched on that earlier. How does that play into diminished value?
The reason diminished value is starting to become so pertinent is because of vehicle histories. In the past, it would be difficult to determine if a vehicle had been in an accident. You have to rely on the salesperson, and they're not going to want, only would they tell you, the only reason they'll tell you is if they have to,
Like, this car is great. No accidents on this one, ever.
They have a duty to disclose, but I won't go into a whole lot of details about that. If they're not aware of it, they're not going to tell you about it. And if the seller doesn't tell them, then it gets complicated. But with vehicle histories, it becomes very apparent. You have different categories on the vehicle history: minor, moderate, severe. And depending on what that history shows, it can affect the diminished value. Sometimes, like if you have severe or airbag deployment on a Carfax or AutoCheck vehicle history, it can affect the value by 20 to 25%.
Wow. So when you're looking at that, if they go through the process of trying to do the diminished value, that would be something that would lower the value of whatever money that they can recoup?
The severity on the history is going to increase the diminished value. So if it has moderate on the vehicle history, severe, airbag deployment, structural damage, then that increases the diminished value.
Okay, increases the diminished value. Okay.
Correct. So if you have minor, minor still affects the diminished value of the vehicle, but it's not going to be as much as if you have moderate to severe or airbag deployment on the vehicle history.
So as you're talking and I'm doing mental gymnastics, it sounds like a property damage claim is how much it costs to put your vehicle back together the way it was. And it sounds like diminished value is kind of your long-term loss for your value of the vehicle if you're going to trade it in or get another one. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, that's correct. A lot of it, like I said, depends on the vehicle history. So yes, you could be I have a case where a person was sitting in a bar having a few drinks and someone drunk bumped into their vehicle, but it was a Viper. And so that little minor on that vehicle history was worth over $10,000, in damage, because you now have it was a rare Viper and it's now, got a vehicle history with minor damage on it, and it affected the value.
Yeah, there's a notorious rapper whose name I'm not going to mention, and there's a video clip of him shooting a movie, and there was a ding on his vehicle, and he lost his mind. And I guarantee the vehicle was worth a lot more than the Viper, and he lost his mind. He would have had a diminished value claim, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, I just did a Lamborghini with minor damage, and it was over $10,000. And in fact, I have one here. This is my best case. I'll share it with you. A client of mine, we did a 2016 Audi S8. It had about 17,000 in repairs, minor on the vehicle history. After I met with multiple Audi dealers, the average was $21,525 that the vehicle had decreased in value, and they recovered that amount.
Well,
wow. Well done.
An Audi S8 is a pretty rare Audi, though. It's not your average vehicle. It's an expensive Audi.
And what was your involvement and role in getting that recovery?
What I do is I meet with multiple sales managers in the area of the vehicle, determine how much they would decrease the value of the vehicle because of the history or accident, and then I average it and provide a report. I've been meeting with sales managers for over 14 years, and a lot of times I'll have an idea of, where they'll be, because, I keep a database of every single meeting and how much they decreased every value. And so over 14 years, I kind of get an idea, but they surprise me sometimes. And I still meet with dealers pretty much on every assignment. And they love me because I bring them cookies.
Good tip.
Yeah. And
it's my trade secret. I shouldn't share that.
You can cut that part out. Huh?
And we're gonna share all your information, how our viewers can contact you at the end, Mr. Smith. But how is it that in your role in talking to the dealerships and things like that, how are you compensated and paid?
Well, I charge a flat fee of, at this time, it's $250. You should beware any appraiser that does not charge a flat fee. If they charge on a contingency basis or a percentage, that's unethical. I charge, I allow non-represented clients they can just pay $100 deposit to get $125 deposit to get started.
Okay, so the appraisal process, what does that look like? I think you may have touched on it already.
Yeah, I meet with 3 to 4 sales managers, strictly sales managers, not just employees, because the sales managers are the ones they're the actual appraisers of the vehicles, and they determine the value, and they have all the software and the experience. And I show them the repair estimate and the vehicle history. When I meet with them, I make sure to tell them that, although I am providing the repair estimate, this is solely for reference purposes, because in the real world, you would not have this repair estimate. So, I'm allowing you to see it, because a lot of times frame damage is something that they would notice in an inspection. A lot of people think that the amount of repairs would be the sole thing that would affect the diminished value, but it's more the history, because dealers aren't going to know the amount of repairs. Most of them indicate that they only do detailed inspections of the vehicle if the repairs were noticeable. Most of them rely on the Carfax, which is unfortunate because Carfaxes can be somewhat inaccurate. They are going usually on the police report, and the police at the scene will often say minor, when I have a lot of cases where the history will say minor, and the vehicle's had over $20,000 in repairs and frame damage. And unfortunately, a lot of times the dealers will say, well, I wouldn't even know about the frame damage. I rely on the vehicle history. And so that's one of the problems with what I do, is that the history is so prevalent in determining the diminished value, but the repairs are, they're also a factor also, especially if you have frame damage. And a lot of times the dealerships that handle luxury cars or high value vehicles are more prone to do inspections, like the Mercedes dealerships and Audi, all of those, they do very detailed inspections of the vehicles before they resell it. But a lot of, most other dealerships they're not going to do an extremely detailed inspection of the vehicle. They rely more on the vehicle history.
Mr. Smith, could you talk to us a little bit about what legal rights vehicle owners have when it comes to claiming diminished value?
Louisiana is one of the only states that has a statute specifically devoted to diminished value. It was instituted in 2010, which is when I started my company. A Louisiana Revised Statute 9/2817 provides diminished value to individuals. And pretty much what the law says, I'll give a summary, is that the owner of the vehicle needs to prove with a preponderance of evidence that their vehicle decreased in value, and that you should consider it when determining total losses of vehicles. So Louisiana, it's actually written in the law that you are entitled to diminished value if you can prove your claim.
And if you were explaining that to a lay person, what does that mean for them? Like, what should they do? What steps should they take to prove that? Call you, of course, but then.
I'm trying to think of how to explain how to do it if you don't hire an appraiser. Some people will try to, on their own, meet with multiple sales managers and average it themselves. The problem is that it's easy for an adjuster to say that, you could have changed the numbers, your numbers are biased. Also a person who would attempt to do that would find that a lot of those sales managers will not cooperate. A lot of them will definitely not put anything in writing. Since I've been meeting with sales managers for 14 years, I've developed a database of who will cooperate and who wouldn't. And also I have a technique on how to schmooze them into getting them to cooperate when they normally wouldn't.
Is that the cookies?
The secret sauce.
The cookies are part of it, yes. But it took 14 years to really develop a technique to persuade them to cooperate when they normally wouldn't, because they don't want to be subpoenaed into court. They don't want the liability issues. Additionally, I'm licensed and certified as an appraiser. They are not. and I'm going to be unbiased. I have no reason to jack up the numbers. It's a flat fee. And so when I meet with dealers, I find out how much and I average it, and there's no reason for anyone to argue that I'm biased or doing anything unethical.
Being an appraiser, have you been involved in litigation and testified?
Yes, I have testified a few times. One of them, I do a little work for insurance companies, and
Still?
some companies hire me as an independent appraiser.
Independent.
It's extremely rare because most of them, Geico started using me because they found my reports were hard to refute, and they felt that my methodology was fair and correct. And so Geico started hiring me, and I went to case on a Geico claim in Jefferson Parish, actually. And I thought for sure we would win because I met with 3 Infinity dealers. Their numbers were extremely consistent. The vehicle had minor damage on it. But the other individual, my credentials were better. I don't understand, but the judge pretty much said he didn't like my viewpoint because I think like an adjuster. And so he ruled against us in favor of the other person, that the vehicle had around 8,000 in repairs, and they awarded 11,000 in diminished value. My appraisal was at 4,500, but it was only minor damage to the vehicle. The other case was in Jefferson Parish. We won easily on that one. The other appraiser was trying to argue that there should be no diminished value on a vehicle that had prior accident. And then also I won in small claims court with an individual. This was a lot of fun because the person, she had done her homework and was very adept on everything. And there was 2 high-powered attorneys from one of the bigger insurance companies against me and her. And we just tore them a new one. The defense attorney started yelling and lost their temper. And but yes, I have testified several times. That's not all of it. Those are probably the more interesting ones. I've done a lot of depositions also.
So if someone's in an accident, what do you recommend? What are the first best steps to take to protect any diminished value claim and property damage claim?
I think one of the most important things people should know is that you want to wait until the repairs are fully completed before you try to pursue diminished value. I'm going to need the final supplement showing everything that was done to repair the vehicle. So wait till all of that is done, because my report won't be accurate if there's a final supplement out there for, another few $1,000s that I'm not aware of. Also, they should understand that diminished value is more a factor of market value and not trade-in value. They should be aware of that. They should, after the repairs are done, they should inspect the vehicle on their own, determine if there are any issues that they have a concern with. Are they okay with the repairs, and make sure they tell the appraiser, if there are any issues before going into the appraisal.
The appraisal process, how do you make sure that that's being done fairly?
One of the problems with this industry is that the appraisers are unregulated, and there's no requirement for diminished value appraisers. And so you have a lot of unscrupulous individuals. Their methodology isn't sound. And some of them will just, in their report, they'll say, based on their opinion, because of their experience in the industry, the amount is this. And so it's not a quantifiable number, and it's arbitrary. And so you have a problem with if if you have a report from a poor appraiser or one that has a poor methodology, and they go up against someone like me who has, excellent methodology, then they're going to lose because the law says preponderance of evidence. And so this is an issue which normally a judge shouldn't even be necessary, because a lot of times when you have the parties involved and one appraiser presents his methodology, the other one presents his, and one is superior to the other, then the preponderance should be clear. And so a lot of times there's no need to go to a judge, but, insurance companies aren't always, sometimes they want to steadfast and stick to their decision regardless.
Do you find that it's often a fight like that with the insurance companies, or if someone is hiring you and going through this process, it's something that they look at and they're willing to pay?
The vast majority of my cases settle because if your methodology is sound and your numbers are accurate, then there shouldn't be, most insurance companies see that it's fair and they're not going to give you a hard time. Now, a lot of them will stick steadfast to their methodology, and their methodology can be extremely unsound. There's a particular formula that's used in the industry by insurance companies called the 17C formula. And this formula, it's what I used as an adjuster. So I did a lot of research into this formula and where it came from. And the majority of insurance companies use it. It comes from a 2001 decision out of Georgia called the Mabry decision. And in this, there was a class action suit where State Farm insureds filed against their own carrier for first party coverage for diminished value. And that's why in the state of Georgia, you can file diminished value on your first party coverage, and you can't do it in any other state. But they won, and the insureds won in the class action. And so to determine diminished value across the board as their settlement, the judge asked State Farm to create a formula that they could determine diminished value. And it's called the 17C formula. And it's based on the maximum is 10%. Okay, so 10% is the maximum amount you can get on diminished value for the vehicle. And then it adjusts down based on the severity of the accident or both the severity and mileage. So this formula is flawed in a lot of different ways, mainly like the mileage. You're already determining, it takes a J.D. Power value and does 10%. Well, a J.D. Power value already adjusts for mileage. So then the formula adjusts for mileage a second time. And also the biggest flaw in the formula is that the maximum is 10%. I told you earlier, a lot of vehicles that I meet with sales managers, if it has airbag deployment, they're hitting them for 20, 25% a lot of the times. A vehicle with airbag deployment, most reputable dealers will not sell that on their lot. It's going to have to go to auction. And so diminished value is extremely high on a vehicle that has airbag deployment or structural damage on its vehicle history.
A lot to unpack there. And so it's probably,
I told you there was a lot involved in this.
No,
I warned you.
No, it's
I can go on for days.
It's fascinating and necessary. So you talked about what someone can do to protect their diminished value claim. What are some common mistakes people may make? They listen to this episode, they get into a fender bender. What are some things they shouldn't do?
I think the biggest mistake I'd already mentioned is confusing trade-in value with market value. A lot of them will go to their dealer, and their dealer will say, well, I'm decreasing the value of this vehicle $10,000 because it has a moderate on the Carfax. And they take that, as written in stone, that's how much the vehicle decreased in value. Well, they have to realize that these dealers are in, they're in the business to make a profit. And whatever reason they may decrease the value, may have other factors involved as to why, they may want more of that vehicle on the lot or less of that vehicle on the lot, whatever reason. The only way to, accurately determine it is first you have to ask the dealer, not trade-in value, but market value. Market value is what would they sell the vehicle for. So a lot of times on the trade-in, they might, tell you they're going to give you $10,000 less on the trade-in, but then when they go to sell it, they only sell it for $2,000 less. And so a lot of people take the trade-in value as written in stone and they get angry, when well, my dealer said that the vehicle decreased by $10,000 and your appraisal was only $4,000. And, I met with multiple dealers. I averaged it, and so that's one of the biggest mistakes people make.
So it sounds like the best route to take is to call you, pay the $250 and let you go do all of that to protect them and just make sure they get their claim paid in full.
Yeah.
Precisely. It's the best way to have someone who's independent, unbiased, and because any individual who's trying to get a value on their vehicle, they're biased. They are emotional about their vehicle.
No.
This is the biggest problem with total losses. I hated total losses because when I was an adjuster, because people are so emotional about their vehicles and they think it devalued more than anyone else will. And so it's important to have someone who's unbiased, unaffected, unemotional, and meeting out there with the dealers and being objective about the whole situation.
Do you know where I've driven my family in this vehicle? Do you know the core memories we've had?
Yeah.
I was waiting for Annie to put some kind of noise, some kind of fun noise with the emotional about vehicles. What we got? No. Oh man.
So when you have someone that has that kind of emotional response, I mean, I know your face. What do you do to try to help them kind of work through what you're doing? And because it sounds like there's a lot of kind of grenades that they could step in, and this is a better route to have you work with them and get them something rather than nothing for the claim.
I don't know how to answer that one. People, sometimes I wish I could only work with attorneys, but
it makes one of us. Oh, bless you.
People are so uneducated on the subject, and a lot of them come to me thinking they know more than I do. And it can be extremely frustrating just dealing with the general public because they're so uneducated on the subject, and it complicates matters a lot.
It sounds like it would. And what's interesting to me, at least, is like listening to you talk about it. It's something that a lot of people wouldn't know, and it actually is valuable to them. So you would think that it's like, okay, I'm helping you kind of recover something that maybe you didn't even know was there, existed.
It's extremely valuable. The average case is around 3,000. Most people recover. So, when you spend $250 to get three, and then I provide a sample demand letter, I provide instructions. Unfortunately, though, a lot of people just don't read the instructions, and I have to do a lot of educating to people, and luckily, since I have so much experience dealing with attorneys and directing them, and I know the fine line of when I'm giving legal advice and when I'm not, and I, make sure that I stay, in my lane, and don't go too far. But a lot of the appraisers in the industry, they don't know much about the whole process. They don't know the laws. I've studied all the laws. I've studied everything I can about this. And then through meeting with the dealers, I'm one of the only appraisers in fact, I think I'm the only appraiser that has met with dealers over the last 14 years. And so I gather a lot of insight and information that other people don't know. A lot of the other appraisers, they start out as body shop people. They don't actually go out and meet with people in the industry. They don't know what's actually happening in the market because they're not researching the market. You know, if you're not going out there and meeting with the people who are selling the vehicles, then it's hard to know what the actual market is what's going on specifically in the market as far as diminished value is concerned.
How far and wide do you go as far as territory and people you help where they're located?
I go as far as Lake Charles, and I handle Mississippi and Alabama also. So I go to the Texas border on the west and Alabama border on the east.
And now being in South Louisiana, how far north do you go?
I'll go to Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, and Monroe.
Okay. So it sounds like you'll cover the whole state of Louisiana.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Excellent. So Mr. Smith, where can our viewers find more information about diminished value claims and your services?
Sure. My website is a wealth of information. I have a blog post area where I go into a lot of details that most attorneys would want to know about. Things like whether diminished value is owed in a leased vehicle. You know, I go into a lot of different aspects that I go into the details a lot. And my website, it can be reached. You can go to getmydv.com. Will route to my company website. Like I said, I have a book there that goes into the details of diminished value and talks about the secrets of diminished value in the state of Louisiana and how insurance companies don't want people to know about it.
That's awesome. And it's just, they can click on the link and it sends them like a PDF, or you'll send it to them in the mail if they want a physical copy.
There's a direct link to the book. Yes, PDF file that they can download.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've gone to your website, clicked on it, downloaded the book. It's very user friendly, very well written. So it's
Thank you.
For sure. Excellent.
Tried.
No, excellent resource. Is there other than their website, is there a contact phone number where if people want to call you, they can call or maybe text? In 2024, we're texting a lot out there. So
the company phone number is 844-DIM-VALUE. That's DIMVALU. And if anyone wants to text me, you can do it directly from the website or at 985-710-1161.
Excellent. And so, Mr. Smith, we talk in our office about celebrating all wins and telling us something good. So in closing, tell us something good, Mr. Smith.
Something good.
Andy, give us something while he's thinking something good. Give us something.
That seems to be a car crash.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Diminished value is a secret that very few people know about. Most attorneys don't know much about it, and it is becoming very prevalent. Everyone should consider pursuing diminished value on their vehicle after an accident, because if you don't get recovery now, you're going to find out down the line probably that your vehicle decreased in value, and you're going to be upset at that point. So I hope that.
No.
One other question just before is there a time frame to bring that claim? Is it?
Of course,
Okay,
yes.
what?
In Louisiana, the statute of limitations is 1 year. So in 1 year to file a claim.
Okay.
Great question.
Thanks.
12 months.
Yeah, it's an important one, but I assume, most attorneys know that, of course. But yeah, it's that can be a problem in Louisiana. A lot of other states have much longer to file a claim, but yes, here you have 1 year to pursue your claim. And some people we're finding this is a really big problem since COVID is it's become difficult to get some parts on some vehicles, and some cars are taking 9 months to a year to repair. And so I said you should wait until the repairs are done to file your claim, but if that 1 year is coming up, go ahead and file suit, at that point.
That way you don't lose the claim.
Correct.
Right. And just to be clear, filing a claim is one thing, but filing a lawsuit in a court, whether it's a parish court or a state court or whatnot, that's going to preserve your rights to then continue with the claim. And if you don't file a suit, you lose it forever and you can't get it back.
Most definitely.
So were you plugging PO right there? Was that a Annie, can I get something on there? Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for being an amazing guest on our show. It was awesome. Appreciate all your knowledge.
Sure, Danny. I truly appreciate it. Clarissa, I had a great time, and I just love to share this information with people, and I hope that it can help them along the way.
Yeah, you're right. Well, that does it for episode 11 of Stay on Track podcast. Our vision is to help 500 plus families battling injuries by year 2028.
Our motto is that we help people who are hurt. Our goal is to earn each client's trust by showing up for them every day. When we say PO in our office, we think protecting others. We started this podcast to share knowledge, experience, and insights free of charge to better spread our vision and serve our communities near and far.
For everyone listening in, thank you very much. Tell us something good. Please like and share us on social media and share our vision statement so others may learn more about what we do and who we help. For Carissa and our excellent, amazing guest, Mr. Keith Smith, I'm Danny. Thank you for staying on track with Poolson Oden Law Firm.
Thank you.